At the number 5 spot, is anybody hungry? I could go for some pizza. Just don't ask this guy to cut you a slice. This is the Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 live-action film. Man, that's a mouthful. No pun intended. I chose the 1990 version is because I think his plan is very clever. As a child, both in the comics and in the cartoons, he still looks very threatening. He looks like a mixture of a samurai and a ninja, with spikes all over the shoulders, the forearms, and the legs. And he's got that cool looking helmet. The way he looks, just like a lot of these other villains, it's the way he looks. But also is that he's a bad guy and he is somebody for the Turtles to fight. Now, as an adult, looking further into what he is doing is pretty sick. Thank goodness nobody has really tried this attempt. If you ever watched the 1990 film, the movie first starts out with a Bro-Neil talking about how crime has risen in New York City at that time. It has gotten worse. It's actually teenagers, and surprisingly, ninjas. And once you find the hideout in the movie, it's all these young people, the young generations, being raised up by the Shredder, being taught by the Shredder, brainwashes them, trying to convince them that the outside world doesn't want them, and uses them for his own advantages. The Shredder is still a very, very cool villain. The Shredder. With him, you bet turtle soup is definitely on the menu. At number 4, this ruthless terrorist is determined to rule the world. Of course, I am talking about the Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe. Now, to be fair, I didn't actually grow up with G.I. Joe. If you liked it, that's great. Everybody has to like something. It's just it wasn't my cup of tea. But my girlfriend actually grew up with G.I. Joe, and she told me a little bit about Cobra Commander. This guy is really, really bad. He is first of all, he's a terrorist. And as a kid, we wouldn't know all the real world situations of terrorism yet. We just see him as pretty much this guy in a mask, we don't really know what he looks like, who has armies behind him planning on taking over the world. And how is he going to do it? Through force, through military action. But as an adult, especially people in America, he's very relatable. Ever since 9/11, we've wanted to get rid of terrorists. And just like G.I. Joe, we will stand up for what we believe in and fight the good fight. Cobra Commander, the terrorist that makes kids run for the hills. At number 3, this man is cruel, vicious, and just downright ugly. And unlike Cobra Commander, he's already taken over the entire universe. Just don't ask to be his apprentice anytime soon. This is Emperor Palpatine from the Star Wars saga. Now, this man first appeared in episode 5. We still didn't really know what he looked like. He was under a hood and you saw his eyes. But that's it. In episode 6, Return of the Jedi, you saw what he looked like, and he didn't look that intimidating. It was just an elderly, old, wrinkled man in a hood. But as soon as he shot lightning out of his hands, trying to kill Luke Skywalker, yikes. That's something. In the prequels, he orders all of the Jedi to be wiped out. Now, as an adult, in the prequels, he's in control of an entire galactic government. Nobody suspects that he's a bad guy. And I don't know if anybody else brought this up, but one of the most evil things that I've ever seen Palpatine do is that he has turned the people's public eye of the Jedi in on its head. Think about this. In episode 1 and half of episode 2, the Jedi were revered as kind of like intergalactic space monks. They were keepers of the peace. But then when the Clone Wars started, the Jedi, along with the clones, were the first to volunteer and fight the wars. Also, what makes him evil is how he deals with being a Sith Lord. All these Sith apprentices all go through the same cycle. He tries to find somebody who's extremely gifted with the Force, influences them to join the dark side, and he has this person become his new apprentice for a good while, and then has them replaced and killed off for the next one to come around. It's actually pretty messed up. I mean, I know the Sith have the rule of 2, but it's still pretty screwy. This guy is a pretty cool villain. Emperor Palpatine, great with galactic domination, not so good with keeping employees. Coming in at number 2 is another Dark Lord, but instead he's a wizard. This guy is so evil that he had an entire school revolt against him. This is Lord Voldemort from the Harry Potter series, the books and the movies. His real name is Tom Marvolo Riddle. This guy looks evil from the get-go. I mean, half man, half snake look appearance. Not only is he magical, but he could kill you just like that. He also has a pet snake. And not just like, oh, it's a little tiny snake. No, it's like a giant boa constrictor or a python. Well, besides the massive army of evil witches and wizards and other magical creatures at his side, he also has another goal, is to kill Harry Potter. Basically, to kill this one kid just because he heard a prophecy saying, oh, by the way, he will kill you. But besides that, one of his biggest goals is to purify the wizarding world, or better yet, the world entirely. He wants to enslave all the muggles, which to people who don't read the books, it's another name for non-magical people. And he wants to take witches and wizards who do not come from pure witch and wizard families and either torture them or kill them and have the pure blood witches and wizards rule the world and be the superior race. Gee, sound familiar? Another thing that could make him a little scary is Horcruxes. According to the books and the movies, they are objects that a man could split his soul up, so it basically makes him immortal. And if you were a muggle, or you had no knowledge of what a Horcrux was, that's pretty scary that the Dark Lord has a way to live forever, and you have no idea how to kill him except for Harry himself. All in all, he's still a pretty awesome looking villain with a very, very scary real-life motive. Lord Voldemort. I say he's more of a serpentine complexion. Now, before we get to number 1, I would like to have an honorable mention. Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. Yeah, I know, Power Rangers is cheesy, Power Rangers is dumb. But I have to admit, Power Rangers kind of has a special place in my heart. I'm not a die-hard fan, but I liked it when I was a child. And why did I have him as an honorable mention? Well, as goofy and over-the-top as he was, Ivan Ooze did kind of have a creepy plan. He wanted to take over the world, of course. Another thing that he's doing is enslaving all of the adults to do his labor, and then he does away with them. Kills them all, and then, according to Zordon, that Ivan Ooze, a long time ago, killed off the older generation, and he takes the younger generation and raises them up into his army. That's pretty scary, and also sounds like another figure from history. Kind of hitting too close to home, eh, Adolf? But the reason why he's not on the list is because, for 2 reasons. One, I was thinking about an honorable mention was it's either going to be Ivan Ooze or it was going to be Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed as a tie, just for the sake of nostalgia. But then I thought, no, they have to be scary. Well, as nostalgic as he is, his plans are still not up to par with a lot of the other villains, and not to mention, he doesn't really succeed in any sense of the word. A lot of these villains on this list, if not all these villains on this list, have succeeded in what they have done. Ivan Ooze, on the other hand, was not really that successful. I will be honest though, I would have loved to see him in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show as a legit villain. But beggars can't be choosers, you know? Oh well, there he is, Ivan Ooze. Go Power Rangers! And the number 1 villain that is scarier now than back then is the Joker from Batman. Which one? All of them. He is terrifying in every incarnation. And I will admit, as a child, not a lot of people thought he was that scary. I am one of the few people who do not think that clowns are scary. But I will admit, the Joker can scare me a little bit. As a kid, he wasn't really that terrifying. He was always depicted as a very goofy villain, because he was a clown. But as an adult, and you get to read more of the comics, He really is that scary. This guy has killed numerous people. He has tortured people. He has formed riots. He is trying to spread chaos throughout the city. And worst of all, he wants Batman to kill him. Why? He doesn't have a death wish. He wants Batman to kill him for two reasons. One, to break his no-kill rule. Batman does not kill anybody, according to Batman. And two, Joker is there to prove a point. That anybody can go insane for having one bad experience. That is something he is trying to prove to everybody. You have that quote-unquote one bad day, you can go just as insane as he is. That's pretty scary. Also, he does believe that there are no rules. There should be no rules. Because he's thinking rules are meant to be broken. But also, he's number one is because I think out of all these villains, he's very recognizable. I mean, yeah, people know who Captain Hook is, people know who the Emperor is, but as soon as you see that white face, red lips, green hair, and a purple suit, everybody knows who you're talking about. Heck, you could pull out the purple suit and people know who you're talking about. The Joker represents a lot of criminals in our real world. As an adult, all the stuff that he does is pretty creepy and pretty scary, and it kind of relates to a lot of criminal minds that we had, like Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy. Those two are probably one of the few examples of deranged psychopaths that are completely inhumane. And why did they do it? According to them, 9 times out of 10, they did it because it was just fun. That's pretty sad and pretty sick. That someone will kill you because it is straight up funny. That is what the Joker does. And this, the Clown Prince of Crime, is the number one villain that is scarier now than he is back then. And those are the top 10 villains that are scarier now than they were back then. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Happy Halloween. Make sure that you give a like, share, comment, subscribe, give suggestions. I hope you all have a great day, and of course, see you all next year.